My name is Aisat, popularly known as Iya Amala. I cook the best meal in town using my urine and some spices. My secret ingredient is best known to only me and no one else. Iya Amala's shop was the busiest spot in town every morning. Even before the sun was high, people rushed to her small stall, eager to taste her special meal. They whispered about how her food was unlike anything else, a mix of warm spices and a secret flavor that made everyone smile. With a kind smile and gentle hands, Iya Amala prepared the meal that had the power to brighten even the dullest day. Every morning, as the cool air of Abuja gave way to the first hints of sunrise, the streets began to buzz with energy. Neighbors, traders, and travelers alike made their way to Iya Amala's shop, their faces bright with anticipation. The promise of her special meal, with its unique blend of spices and a mysterious secret flavor, drew them like a magnet. As soon as the doors opened, a stream of customers poured in. Some hurried to grab their bowl of steaming food before continuing on with their busy day, while others lingered, chatting happily with one another. The simple act of sharing a meal at Ia Amala's shop brought warmth and comfort, uniting strangers with its inviting aroma and satisfying taste. Inside the humble stall, Ia Amala moved quickly and confidently. Every gesture was familiar, as if she had performed this morning ritual for as long as anyone could remember. She stirred her large pot with a practiced hand, and with each slow swirl, the rich scent of spices filled the air. People said that her food carried a magic of its own, a flavor so special it made even the most ordinary day feel extraordinary. Outside, the gentle breeze carried the scent of rain that might soon fall, adding a cool freshness to the busy street. The sound of chatter, the clinking of utensils, and the soft hum of daily life blended together, creating a lively background for the scene. Amid this bustling harmony, the magic of Iya Amala's food was a constant reminder of the simple joys that could be found in every bite. As the crowd grew, a sense of anticipation filled the air. Everyone wondered what secret ingredient made the meal so irresistible. Was it the careful mix of spices, or perhaps a special touch known only to Iya Amala? While the mystery lingered, one thing was clear. Her meal was not just food. It was an experience that brought a spark of wonder to each person who tasted it. And so, in that little shop in Abuja, every morning was a small celebration of life, community, and the extraordinary magic hidden in the simplest of meals. As the days went by, something strange began to happen. People who once lined up at other food stalls, tempted by the variety of meals offered, now found themselves skipping those places. The whispers around town grew louder. "Have you been to Iya Amala's shop today?" was a question on everyone's lips. No one seemed to be able to resist the pull of her food. The surrounding shops noticed the shift. Vendors who had once proudly sold their goods with smiles on their faces now found themselves watching helplessly as customers rushed past their stalls, heading straight for Iya Amala's humble little shop. It was as if something invisible, a force no one could explain, was drawing them in. There was Auntie Ngozi, who ran the stall next to Iya Amala's, selling roasted plantains. Her usual crowd was now barely there. She sighed, wiping her hands on her apron as she watched another group of people walk by her, not even glancing in her direction. "It's that Ia Amala's food," she muttered to herself, shaking her head. "I wonder what's so special about it." Even Mr. Cheedy, the man who sold spicy fried chicken across the street, noticed the change. "They don't even look at my chicken anymore. Everyone's in a rush to get that Amala of hers," he complained to his wife one evening. He had tried to offer a free meal to a couple of passers-by, hoping to entice them to his stall, but they just smiled politely and hurried off to Iya Amala's shop. But it wasn't just the local vendors talking. Customers had become obsessed with Ia Amala's food. They no longer thought twice before walking past other stalls, no longer even considering the other options available. In fact, most couldn't even remember the last time they ate anything else. Her food had a way of making their stomachs growl even when they weren't hungry. There was something about it, something they couldn't quite put their finger on, that made them crave it day after day. My husband can't stop talking about it, Nkechi said, shaking her head. He says if he doesn't have her food, his whole day feels wrong. She laughed, but there was a hint of worry in her voice. It's like he's addicted. Even those who once preferred cooking at home started showing up at Iya Amala's shop. I tried making my own amala yesterday, said Chika, a woman in her 40s, but it didn't taste the same. I don't know what she does, but her food has something that makes you come back for more. It's like magic. The customers were hooked, and they couldn't explain why. They didn't care if there were other food stalls around. They only wanted one thing, Iya Amala's food. Day after day, they returned. It became a ritual, a habit. Their stomachs seemed to demand it. But it wasn't just the taste. No, there was something more to it. People felt lighter after eating her food, almost as if they had received a blessing, something they couldn't get anywhere else. In fact, even those who had once turned their noses up at Amala, thinking it was too simple, now found themselves eagerly devouring it. The old and young, the rich and poor, everyone stood in line, some of them waiting for hours just to get a taste of Iya Amala's special dish. Something is not right, whispered Auntie Ngozi one evening as she closed up her shop. It's not normal for so many people to want one meal so badly. Her voice was filled with suspicion, but she couldn't figure out why. She had seen the way people ate, almost ravenously, like they couldn't survive the day without it. It was as if the whole town had been caught in the same trance, and no one knew how to break free. The growing obsession with Ia Amala's food only deepened the mystery. What was the secret behind it? Why was her shop the only place people seemed to flock to, even though there were so many other food options? As the days went by, the obsession with Ia Amala's shop grew even stronger. People didn't just come for her famous amala, they came for her jollof rice, which was rumored to be the best in the entire town. I swear her jollof rice is out of this world, Chima said one morning, his mouth watering just thinking about it. It's like there's a secret ingredient. I don't care what anyone says, there's no better jollof rice anywhere. It's like magic. And it wasn't just talk. Every single person in town had heard the whispers. Word had spread fast, and soon it wasn't just about the Amala. People started lining up for hours just to get a taste of that jollof rice. They claimed it was so delicious that they couldn't get enough, no matter how much they ate. There was something rich, spicy, and perfectly balanced about it that no one could replicate. I can't wait for daybreak, said Nkechi one evening as she chatted with her neighbors. I can hardly sleep because I'm thinking about that jollof rice. You have to be there early if you want to get some. It sells out fast. Her words were not an exaggeration. By the time the sun was barely rising, there was already a long line at Ia Amala's shop. People came from every corner of the town, some even from the neighboring villages. And they didn't just come casually. They came early, very early. Many would sit on the ground, waiting for the shop to open, talking about how they couldn't start their day without that special jollof rice. You know the jollof rice from her shop has something in it, Auntie Ngozi confessed to her friend one morning as she sipped her tea. People say it's better than anything they've had before. They literally pray for the sun to rise just so they can get in line. It's like they've been possessed. The line grew longer with each passing day. People stood in anticipation, chatting excitedly. already planning what they would order when they finally reached the counter. Some claimed they could taste the secret flavor, that unique mix of spices that no one could ever get right. I tried to cook it at home last week, said Amika, shaking his head. I even bought the same ingredients, but when I made it, it just didn't taste the same. I guess it's true what they say. Only Ia Amala knows how to do it right. It wasn't just the taste that kept people coming back. There was a sense of peace, almost a calm that people felt after eating her food. It wasn't just about satisfying hunger, it was about something deeper. Some said it made them feel strong, others said it made them feel lucky. I can't even explain it, said Rose, a regular customer. It's like her food just makes everything feel better. Like you can face anything after you've eaten from her shop. I always feel lighter, happier, like all my problems just disappear, even if it's just for a while. The craving had become an addiction, and no one could break free from it. People who had eaten from her shop said they couldn't go a day without it. The thought of eating from any other food stall was unthinkable. They didn't even want to try. Iya Amala had unknowingly created a town of hungry, devoted followers. As the day passed and the sun began to set, those who didn't make it to her shop in time would walk home with empty stomachs, promising themselves that tomorrow they would come earlier. And tomorrow they would again pray for the sun to rise just a little faster so they could get their hands on that special jollof rice and whatever secret magic was inside it. But what the people didn't know was that Ia Amala's food wasn't just ordinary. There was something much deeper, darker, and more mysterious at play. Years ago, before she became the beloved Ia Amala in Abuja, she lived in Ibadan, a bustling city in the southwestern part of Nigeria. She was once a respected woman, known for her cooking skills, just like she was now in Abuja. But behind the scenes, her life was shrouded in darkness. Iya Amala's real name was Ayisat, and she had a husband who was not who he seemed to be. He wasn't just a loving spouse, he was a man desperate for wealth and willing to do anything to get it. Rumor had it that her husband had used her in a money ritual, offering her life in exchange for riches. But, as the tales went, Aisat had somehow escaped from this cruel fate. It wasn't long after that when she vanished from Ibadan. No one knew where she went, but whispers started to spread about how she had moved far away, to a place where no one knew her, Abuja. There, she set up a humble food stall and began to sell her famous amala, Uwedu soup with goat meat, and, of course, her irresistible jollof rice. What the customers didn't know was that Aisat's cooking held a dark secret. The magical taste and the way it made people crave her food endlessly was not just skillful cooking, it was something much more sinister. It was said that her food had been enhanced in a way that no one could explain. Some of the older women in the village who had lived through the years of her disappearance whispered to their children that her food wasn't just food at all. It was a potion, one that kept people coming back, unable to resist. It was as if the food had a grip on their very souls. The ingredients she used were not just ordinary spices. It was said that she had access to rare, forbidden herbs and oils, ones that could create an almost hypnotic effect on anyone who tasted them. People who ate from her shop would find themselves addicted, unable to stay away, even if they tried. And this obsession, this craving, grew stronger and stronger each day. Little did the people know, Iya Amala was more than just a chef. She was a woman who had once faced death, but had managed to escape by becoming something far more powerful. The essence of the ritual had remained in her, and it had transferred into her food. That was why it was so special, so irresistible. It was also the reason people prayed for the sun to rise, just to get a taste. She was long dead, but the power of her spirit had stayed with her food. No one knew that Ia Amala was no longer the woman they thought she was, and every bite they took brought them deeper into her spell. And just like that, Iya Amala's food wasn't just the highlight of the town. It was her way of controlling them, one plate at a time. Femi had no idea what he was stepping into when he moved from Ibadan to Abuja. He had heard whispers of Iya Amala's famous food, the jollof rice, amala, and ewedu soup with goat meat that no one could resist. So, when he was offered a job to work in her shop, he didn't hesitate. He needed the work, and besides, everyone in town spoke of her food with such admiration. It seemed like a dream opportunity. But the moment Femi stepped into the shop on his first day, something felt off. As soon as he walked through the door, he saw Iya Amala standing behind the counter, smiling at him with a warmth that was hard to ignore. But Femi's heart stopped for a moment. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. The woman in front of him was unmistakably Iya Amala. But no, that couldn't be her. Iya Amala had died years ago in Ibadan. He knew this because he had heard the rumors. Her death was a story that had haunted him for a long time. He had heard how her husband had used her for a money ritual, and her body was never found. Femi stood frozen in place, staring at the woman in front of him. Ia Amala looked exactly the same as he remembered her from the past. The same face, the same warm smile, but this couldn't be possible. Could she have faked her death? Or had he somehow walked into a strange dream? She noticed his confusion and, with a cheerful smile, greeted him. "Welcome, my son. You must be Femi, right?" Femi's voice wavered as he spoke. "Yes, I'm Femi, but Iya Amala, you look just like—" Before he could finish his sentence, Iya Amala waved her hand and laughed softly. "Oh, don't be shy. You are just like a son to me, Femi. You'll get used to things here. Don't worry, you'll fit right in." Femi felt his legs tremble beneath him. The woman in front of him seemed so kind, so welcoming, but there was an eerie feeling hanging in the air. She didn't seem to recognize him at all, not even a hint of the past. She treated him as though they had never met before, and yet Femi knew, deep down, that this was the same woman from his past. "Ia Amala," he said hesitantly. "Are you sure you don't remember me? We've met before, in Ibadan, years ago. You were—" She stopped him with a soft, maternal smile. "Oh, Femi, my dear, you must be mistaken. But no matter. You're here now. Let me show you around." Femi couldn't understand what was happening. His mind raced as he tried to piece together the strange encounter. How could she be alive? He had heard that she was long dead. There was no way this woman could be the same Ia Amala. It didn't make sense. But as he started working, he noticed something even stranger. There was a certain energy in the shop, something that made him feel uneasy. It was like the walls themselves were watching him, like something invisible was pressing down on him. The other workers were calm, too calm, and they spoke about her with such reverence. They called her Mama and treated her like a queen. Femi's confusion only deepened. Days passed, and Femi tried to push the strange thoughts from his mind. But every time he looked at Ia Amala, a dark feeling grew inside him. The way she spoke to him, how she treated him like family, it didn't sit right. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something deeply wrong with this whole place. What Femi didn't know was that Iya Amala's food wasn't just delicious, it was magical, and not in a good way. Her secret ingredient, the one she had carefully hidden from the world, was the very thing that kept people tied to her. Her urine was mixed into the food, a powerful potion that would bind the souls of anyone who ate it. It was a soul tie, a deep, unbreakable connection that could only be broken by divine intervention. Those who ate her food became addicted, unable to stop themselves from coming back day after day, unable to break free. The longer they stayed, the stronger the bond became, until they were no longer just customers. They were trapped, bound to Iya Amala's power. As Femi continued working, he started to see the effects of this soul tie in the other workers. They had lost their sense of self, their spirits drained, but none of them seemed to care. They were too deep in the trance, too bound by the food. Femi started to wonder if he too was becoming a part of it. If he stayed much longer, would he become like the others, dependent, unable to escape? The realization hit him hard, but it wasn't just the food that worried him. It was Iya Amala herself. What was she really? How was she? Still alive after all these years? Was this woman truly the same Iya Amala he knew? Or was she something else entirely? Femi could feel the walls closing in on him, and he knew that the only way out was to uncover the truth behind Iya Amala's food and the dark power she wielded. But would he be able to break free before it was too late? Femi knew he couldn't stay at Iya Amala's shop any longer. The confusion, the unease, it was becoming unbearable. He needed to find answers, and the only way to do that was to leave Abuja and return to his village. But how could he explain his sudden departure without raising suspicion? That's when an idea struck him. He would lie. He told Ia Amala that he was feeling unwell and needed to go back to the village for some rest. She seemed concerned but ultimately agreed. The moment Femi arrived back in his village, he went straight to his mother's house. He couldn't wait any longer. He had to tell her everything. As soon as he walked through the door, his mother noticed the troubled look on his face. "Femi, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost," she asked, noticing his anxiety. Without wasting another moment, Femi sat down and poured out everything. He told her about his time working for Ia Amala in Abuja, how strange everything had felt, how she looked like she had never aged, and how he had recognized her as the woman who had died in Ibadan. He told her about the weird energy in the shop and the strange bond people had with her food. When he finished, his mother's face went pale. She gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "Have you eaten her food, my son?" "Tell me the truth," she asked, her voice trembling. Femi nodded slowly, unsure of what was coming next. His mother's expression shifted from concern to pure worry. "Oh, my son, this is bad, very bad," she muttered. She rushed over to him, gripping his shoulders tightly. "You've eaten her food. You've eaten Ia Amala's food." Femi looked at her, confused. "What does that mean, Mama? Why are you so scared?" His mother took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, but the fear in her eyes was evident. "Iya Amala is not just a cook, my son. She is something else. She's gone to the spirit realm, and now she's come back to hurt people. She's using her food to trap souls. She cooks with her urine, which creates a soul tie with anyone who eats her food. You're in danger, Femi. You need to get away from her and break that connection before it's too late." Femi's heart raced as he heard his mother's words. He had no idea the woman he had been working for was capable of such dark magic. He had eaten her food, and now he was bound to her, just like the other customers in the shop. His mother didn't waste another second. She grabbed his hand and led him out of the house. "We need to see the village herbalist," she said urgently. "He's the only one who can help us." The herbalist was an old man who lived on the outskirts of the village. He had a reputation for being able to handle matters that others couldn't. When Femi and his mother arrived at his hut, the herbalist listened carefully to Femi's story. The old man's face grew serious as he nodded in understanding. "Ia Amala is no ordinary woman," the herbalist said, his voice gravelly. She has crossed into the spirit realm, and now she uses that power to control people. She's cooking with her urine to create soul ties, which bind people to her. Once someone eats her food, their soul is tied to her, and they can never escape. They will always return to her shop, unable to resist. Femi's heart sank. He had feared it was true, but hearing the herbalist confirm, it made it all the more terrifying. You've eaten her food, Femi, and now you must act fast before you become like the others, trapped forever. The herbalist continued, but there's a way to break the soul ties. I have a special powder that you can put in her food. It will loosen the grip she has on people and release their souls. Femi's eyes widened. But how can I do that? I'm not sure I can even get close to her now. She'll know I'm trying to stop her. The herbalist smiled faintly. You don't have to worry about that. The powder will work without you needing to say a word. Just get close enough and the rest will happen. But you must be careful. Ia Amala is powerful, and she will try to stop you once she realizes what you're doing. You have to act quickly and secretly. Femi took the small packet of powder that the herbalist gave him. It was wrapped in a cloth, and the smell was earthy and strong. He felt the weight of the task ahead of him. If he was going to break the soul tie, he had to return to Iya Amala's shop, but he couldn't do it alone. He needed to be smart, and he needed to be fast. As he made his way back to Abuja, the journey felt longer than ever. His mind raced with thoughts of what he would face when he returned to the shop. Would Iya Amala recognize him? Would she sense his plan? Would he be able to break the spell before it was too late? All Femi knew was that he couldn't go back to the shop as the same person. He had to do everything in his power to free the souls that were tied to Iya Amala's food and stop her before she hurt anyone else. She started watching Femi closely. Every move he made, every step he took, she was there, her eyes sharp like a hawk. Femi couldn't breathe freely. He knew she was on to him. He couldn't take any risk. Quietly, with shaky hands, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He couldn't make a call, but he quickly typed an SMS to one of the other workers in the shop, Jane. Hi, Jane. Please open my bag. There's a white powder inside. Take it and mix a little into Ia Amala's food when you're preparing her indomie. I'll explain later. She's evil. She has been feeding us with her urine. Please do it now or we'll all die. I'm serious. I can't do it myself. She's watching me. Femi hit send and quickly hid his phone. He stood up, picked his bag, and stepped outside the shop. He didn't want to arouse any suspicion, so he sat on a small bench just beside the shop, pretending to be checking his messages, but deep down he was praying, God, please touch Jane's heart to believe me. Inside the shop, Jane read the message and her heart skipped a beat. What is this? She whispered to herself, looking around nervously. Iya Amala was laughing and serving customers, acting like everything was normal. Jane looked at Femi's bag. She was scared. Her hands were trembling, but something in her spirit told her to do it. She slowly opened the bag and saw the white powder wrapped in a small black nylon. With her hands shaking, she took a pinch of the powder and carefully mixed it into the indomie she was preparing for Iya Amala, just as Femi instructed. She was sweating, her heart was pounding, but she did it. A few minutes later, Iya Amala came over smiling. Ah, Jane, my daughter, you made the indomie today? Jane nodded slowly. Good girl, Iya Amala said, picking up the plate. She took one bite, then another, and then she vanished, right there in front of everyone. 1 second she was sitting. The next second, her spoon fell to the ground and she disappeared. The whole shop went silent. Plates dropped, people screamed, chairs fell, some ran outside, others stood frozen in fear. Where is Iya Amala? Someone shouted. She was here just now. What just happened? She vanished. I saw it with my 2 eyes. Is this magic? Then someone whispered, So she's truly evil? That was when Femi stood up and stepped into the shop. His voice was calm but firm. Yes, she's evil, he said. She's not even supposed to be alive. Iya Amala died years ago in Ibadan. Her husband used her for ritual. What you've been eating, her food, it's not ordinary. She ties people's souls to herself with her urine. That's why you all keep coming back here like you're under a spell. The people gasped. Some cried. Some looked at their plates and pushed them away. Others held their stomachs and whispered prayers. But you're free now, Femi continued. The spell is broken. Everyone looked at him with gratitude in their eyes. Thank you, Femi. You saved us. I haven't cooked at home in 3 months because of her. My children cry for her food like drug. Now people started leaving the shop slowly, heads shaking in disbelief. Some started calling their family members. That very evening, smoke began to rise from different homes. People started cooking their own food again. Laughter and joy returned to the streets. Mothers sang as they cooked, and children danced. Ia Amala was gone. But Femi couldn't help but wonder, was she truly gone, or just waiting to return again? The lesson is, just because something looks good or tastes sweet doesn't mean it's pure or safe. Evil can hide behind beauty and kindness. Food is spiritual. Always pray before eating, and don't eat just anywhere, especially when something feels off.